Yeah. Initially, your awoken cat is not awoken yet. Will gradually build into that whole aspect of your character. Um, you yourself was a patron of a druid that you knew as a good two-legged friend. They nurtured you and cared for you, and from time to time would change into a cat themselves to play around with you. And then one day out in the woods, while your two-legged friend had taken the shape of what us other two-leggers would know as a bear, was abducted by a group of other two-leggers with dark skin and really white hair. And they took her uh, down into a cave where you followed behind. And eventually, they had her unconscious. Eventually, she woke up and lost the ability to stay changed. So, as we changed back into uh, an elf, they slaughtered her on the spot. Um, so, you not really know what was going on, continued to follow them, and it arrived at this cave or facility, whatever a cat would really think it is. Um, these circles right here are stalactites. So this side here is actually like built into the side of a cave. On the previous screen, the Velkonev side view, it's the longest stalactite from tip to bottom is about 100 feet down. Um, you are aware that there are spiders, though they're the bigger spiders than you've ever seen. They kind of litter the ends of the tips of the stalactites. You choose pretty much not to go around them because they're not something that, as a cat, you can prey on easily. So you've kind of lived on the outskirts of this facility for, I guess I needed some dice. Matt, can you give me that bag? So you've lived on the outskirts of this facility for about 4 days. You've kind of scavenged off of the remnants of what these other two-leggers leave. You've noticed that these two-legged people, they're not as friendly as the person that raised you, that you kind of felt like was your parent or your equal. Uh, they seem to control other strange creatures as well as abuse other two-legged creatures. But your curiosity hasn't really struck you to really seek too deep into the facility itself. You kind of just stay on the outskirts. There's like any cat. There's on the stalactites with the little living quarters and stuff built inside of them. There's vantage points for you to get on, and just be a cat on high leveraged areas, etc. Uh, so you find yourself today in the barracks, which is right here. Yes, there's a. You notice this is probably the easiest area for you to gain any type of food source, other than hunting yourself. The two-legged people, they tend to leave a lot of scraps and a lot of stuff laying around on the floor after meals, and you kind of come in behind and you kind of sneakily gather it up and eat it.
How do the dark skinned two-legged people treat me?
They have seen you a few times. Usually they yell at you, throw rocks, occasionally shoot crossbow bolts.
Oh shit.
Yeah, they're not too fond of you being around.
Okay.
They haven't really like set out to investigate. Like they just figure you're just another cave dwelling creature. They didn't see you when they abducted your previous owner.
Okay.
So there was really no reason for them to believe they were anything different. So you're in the barracks. There's 4 drow there.
Okay.
They're sitting at a table. You're kind of on the outskirts, trying to remain unseen. Just kind of kneeling down, watching them eat. They look like they're eating what you would probably, in whatever cat language or understanding you have, a frog. Though it's a rather large frog. It looks cooked, or it looks like something your master would eat. master wasn't known for eating stuff raw like you were. So on the one pictures, the colored pictures, like
Oh, yes.
there's a dark elf by the name of Seraph.
Okay.
So you see someone that resembles him sitting at the table, and there's 3 other dark elf or drow sitting there with them. They're eating.
Okay.
You're just waiting, the opportunity for a piece of food to drop on the ground, and you kind of see, like, though you can't understand anything what they say, you do notice that their language they speak is different than what your owner spoke.
Okay.
You can tell that, like, whatever sounds are coming out of their mouths aren't the same sounds that she had.
Makes sense.
So you kind of see, like, the person on the picture, like, mumble something, and the other person in front of them kind of stand up really angrily and, like, get in his face and say something really loud. And then it's like he mumbles something else, and the other guy says something even louder. And then out of nowhere, the guy sitting at the table just takes a dagger and shoves it up through the guy's bottom of the guy's neck.
While they're doing this, can I roll a stealth check to try and steal some food?
Sure, there's nothing on the ground yet, though. They're just
Okay.
they're
Here, I want to roll a stealth check to get closer
Okay.
to them. I can do math. 14.
14. You get a little bit closer. There's several tables inside of it, so you kind of just creep through the shadows up to the tables that they're at. They begin tussling with this individual here. The other 2, the one dead guy, dead drow, or one that you see there, kind of falls over, and then stares blankly in your direction as blood kind of slowly comes out of his mouth and nose. He isn't moving, and your cat senses kind of tell you that this person is no longer alive.
Perception check for threads and string.
Do what?
I'm looking for threads and string, man. It's important to my character development, and I rolled really high. Right? It's a 23.
There is a loose string on one of his shirts. That's kind of.
I get it.
Okay.
And I start playing with it a little bit. All right.
All right, so you're kind of batting it around on the floor.
Okay.
They're struggling with this one character, and they're subduing him, dragging him out of the barracks or this room that you're in. And then all is quiet. The table kind of got jarred. Some food did fall on the ground. And then you got this dead guy kind of laying there, really motionless. So
I kind of, I've looked for string and stuff. I just kind of want to, like, there's nothing that I'm specifically looking for, but, like, cats are curious and they'll, like, poke stuff with their noses.
yeah.
So I'm just going to kind of look around his body.
You
for after I eat.
All right, so you go up, you start eating.
Not the dead guy.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
food.
Yeah, the food. You start eating the food. It doesn't take too long. Not too much. You want to jump, like, up on the table. Not too much fall forward. Stay.
I want to, with my perception check, like, and I'll do another one if I need to. I definitely want to be aware of if they're coming back in the room.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to get up on the table. I want to investigate everything on the
Okay. So you jump up on the table, you start walking around, and you start hearing some footsteps coming up towards maybe your direction.
All right, I'm gonna jump down and try and dart, like, over to here. So I'm, like, behind the door.
So just so you know, there's windows that you entered into. You didn't enter into the door. So there's windows inside that one facility.
Right below the window.
Okay. So these 3 other individuals come in, both looking similar to the same individuals that are inside this facility.
Sure.
They go over and they start looking at the dead guy and looking around, and they start investigating around inside of the room. So roll a stealth.
Right. Super high. 25.
Okay. Yeah. They don't see you. They look around a little bit. Yeah. There's this one individual. He's got kind of scars on his face. He's kind of a little deformed. He looks like he's telling the other 2 individuals, or pointing and saying stuff that you still can't understand. It's definitely not your name or mittens come eat or any words that you've ever heard.
I've already eaten and I looked around. I'm getting out of this room.
Okay, so you sneak out the window, so you're standing on a ledge. kind of overseeing this. I guess it's like a cliff, more or less, that kind of almost goes into the stalactites themselves. There's places to roost on.
I want to head for whatever place looks the darkest. Because I've been around here for a few days.
Yeah.
Wherever I haven't seen spiders, but I know is like a good hiding spot, I'm gonna head there.
Okay, so you hop up a little bit. You've been around in here, kind of living off the territory for a while. When you get up close to the place that you usually, lay down, take a cat nap in, etc., you start feeling a little drowsy. You start hearing the best thing I could really say is maybe like a static sound.
Okay.
And it gets louder and louder and louder to its point that it's almost disorienting you.
Okay.
So you kind of start to stagger, and then it stops. And then the only thing you hear is your master's voice saying, "Save them," and then you fade to black.
Okay.
Okay. So, y'all's guys' turns. All right, each one of y'all roll a d10.
All right, so that's gonna be over there on this side because it was one of the ones I thought you wouldn't use. All right, here, show him a D10. That's a D10.
Yeah,
You got it.
10.
That's a 10.
So we need a reroll.
No. All right, so you've been inside this facility for 10 days. Matt, what did you roll?
10.
10. All right, so you've both been inside this facility for 10 days.
Good guys.
Let's see.
You're dead already. That's it. You're a bunch of bones. Reroll your
He
character.
had to revive me.
All right, so now roll a d20 and add the number of days that you've been inside the
So
facility.
that's that one over there, the big one. There you go.
18.
18. So,
6 or 9.
19.
19. All right, so Matt, you have found during your time here, just by scavenging and living off what little bit they give you, a gemstone. It just looks really pretty to you. So if you want to, does he have anything to write that?
I'm gonna write it.
Write down. Okay.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna give you some paper.
I have paper right here. I
All right.
don't know what I was writing.
Yeah.
Just write down one gemstone. So really, like, paper's just for whatever
One of those
notes you
two
want.
if you-
What's up?
I have a pencil too.
Yeah, so you found just by staying here one gemstone. You've been here for 10 days. You were abducted. You were camping out. You don't know, which I'm sure you do, you're an Ashmere. You have a bloodline of an angel inside you. The way it manifests itself physically is you have this permanent glowing halo above your head. You were camping out on your way to whatever destination you want to go to, and you were abducted overnight, and you awoke inside this facility. You're amongst a lot of other people, or a lot of other beings. You've interacted the whole time, and we'll get into that. But you can tell that the people who captured you, which you would know are Drow, they're dark elves. They're elves that were driven underground. They really have a disdain for anything living on the surface world. So they really don't like you, and they really talk ill to you because being as from angel blood, you're higher than the ground itself. So you're like the epitome of what they don't like or what they choose not to be. And then Ben, you found a crossbow bolt one day while you were doing some odd ends that the Drow have commanded you to do. You found a crossbow bolt that evidently didn't hit its mark, and it looks like it has a little bit of green tint to the tip. So you found that. As far as your character, you were doing what any badger folk would do, bury holes, and you just buried down the wrong hole and fell on top of some Drow that were in a cave deeper than the cave that you were staying in. And they quickly abducted you, and they've taken you down into this facility. So being here for 10 days, you've known that you've seen some other people that have rotated out of this facility. It seems that though time is really hard to judge down here because there's no light at all, It seems that you're pretty much slaves. You've been told to do different types of labor activities, whether it's something as easy as folding clothes or moving this set of rocks from this place to the other. It's really just something to break you down physically and mentally. You can't really tell time though, because there's no sun or anything to judge time, though your body's natural clock, can tell you've been down here for 2 weeks, give or take. There's other people that have been taken. There seems to be a other group of Drow that come and consult with a female named Elvara. Though I don't guess really, did any of y'all know? Did any of them know Undercommon or anything? No. So they know a little bit of Common, so she probably has announced herself as Elvara. She seems to be the one in control of this facility. She has 2 other people, well actually 3 other people that consult with her. She has another female named Asha, which seems to be not necessarily her equal, but maybe someone that she's training. When y'all first came here, she had another male companion that was really close to her, and then one day he showed up with a lot of disfigurements on his face, and she's shunned him since then. And she's kind of taken up with another figure of Drow descent. You've kind of, got to know that his name's maybe Shore. The one with the disfigured face, y'all came to know his name is Jorlin. He seems to be her new guy. You don't really see Jorlin or Shore together at the same time. They seem to keep their distance. But anyways, Elvara, she consults with these other Drow groups that come. They take whatever prisoners are there, and they head off with them to whatever destination y'all don't know. So in your days there, where's those pictures at? All right, so which is the first? All right, we'll go with. All right, so
You tell me what you want, man. I got all 3.
all right. Either way, we'll just lay him out. Just lay him out like across the screen, and then we'll just go that way.
Stool is my favorite character in the whole game. I will kill all of you to save Stool.
So I just wanted you to know that.
All right. So Sushar is a Kuotoa. The best way to explain him or what y'all gathered from him in y'all's time here is he's a fish guy.
Okay.
He is a very big pacifist. He doesn't want violence. He doesn't want combat. His whole thing is, this is happening for a reason. I know for a fact that my deities will free me from this, and if they don't free me from this, this is my deity's will. He's just your average, monk, and he just won't do anything. He will, if he's told to do the labor or whatnot, he will do that. He won't fight it no matter what they tell him to do, whether it's, white butts or whatever, he'll do it, no questions asked.
So he has all the magical items, so you need to save him.
Alright, so Stool, he's a myconid sprout.
It's amazing.
He's only 2 feet tall.
Yep.
He's basically a mushroom that's intelligent. The one good thing about Stool is he releases into the air a spore that allows everyone to telekinetically talk to one another.
Stool is amazing.
Yeah.
I
So
knew it.
everyone here kind of speaks different languages. Some people know Common from where y'all from. Some people know other languages that y'all may know or may not know. Most of the languages that y'all can't understand unless Stool sprays the air with his spores. So as gross as that may sound, you got to inhale it all in and take it, and y'all can stay telekinetically connected for a couple hours to be able to talk to one another or amongst one another, or anyone that breathes in that spore.
Pretty amazing.
Yes. Ront, he is, the best way to explain it is an orc bully. He's the bully in the...
Big old meanie head.
Yeah, he's big old meanie head. He picks on everybody. He makes sure that anyone new in there knows he's the main guy. Whether or not he really is the main guy, is up to question. He just it's his whole personality. He's this bully.
So we overthrow Ryan's and we put Stool in as the leader. That's what we have to do.
Topsy and Turvy
Okay.
are deep gnomes. They're brother and sister. They are really sketchy. They haven't really tried to interact too much with the group. They will, if need be, interact, but they kind of stay amongst themselves. They're not really fond of people above. They just haven't really interacted much with the group overall.
Okay, so they have all the magic items.
Yeah. Bupito seems really, I guess the best way to say is, is not all there. He's a Darrow, which I guess is a dark dwarf. He seems to be really sporadic, kind of all over the place, really hyper, even for his old age. He's really old looking. He's really fond of violence. Anytime there's any type of violence amongst either the slaves or the slaves to the other dark elves, he's there egging it on. He lives for that stuff. Prince Dirindale, he's a Quaggoth. The best way to really explain his physical form, I do have some pictures of that, but we can upload them later onto the screen, is kind of like a hunchbacked over man-ape werewolf. I mean, they're really hairy. They walk on all fours for the most part. But he does claim to be a high elf prince stuck in a Quaggoth's body. He says that he was exiled from his kingdom before he ended up here, and he only wishes to get back to his original body before his kingdom is totally overtaken by whatever evil exiled it. Eldith, she is a dwarf. She's probably the most unique out of all of them because she's the most probably human-like. Only thing she's really revealed to y'all is that she was a scout for some dwarves. She doesn't reveal what she was a scout for, and that she was overtaken by the Drow on a scouting expedition.
So have I watched these people also?
You've seen them while they're out doing their task, whether it's moving boulders or pebbles or...
So this information I necessarily would have done.
You would, yeah, not necessarily anything too personal. You haven't actually been in the facilities with them, but you could, say you were out like on the ledge or something, looking down over like a slave pit or something, and
He's a bully.
and you've probably seen their interactions amongst. You might not have heard them or really even understood anything they're doing. All right, Jim Jar, he's another deep gnome, and from what y'all have gathered, he's really heavily into gambling. Anytime something happens or if there's anything he can wager a bet on,
He knows where the casino is.
yes, he's always like, I bet you the least dampest place inside this cave tonight to sleep that so-and-so won't do so-and-so, or he's always wanting to bet to the point that it almost seems like an addiction. And I think that gets all of them that are in there right now.
Is he related to Topsy or Terry?
You can ask them. Yes, you can ask them. I mean, they are both deep gnomes.
So would he notice a familiarity between Topsy and Turkey, is I think what he means. Do they talk to each other as opposed to not talking to anybody else?
Topsy and Turvy don't really talk to anybody.
Nobody.
They are just there. They don't want to be there. You can get that much. You can kind of get the feeling that if there was a way that the group could get out, that they would probably assist, but only until the door is open, and then who knows what they're going to do then. All right, so y'all are inside. If you want to move the camera up or zoom the camera in to that.
These papers.
Yes.
All right, so zooming in.
So to see the one next to the waterfall, that one down, that one right there. Yes.
Is that good?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So y'all are in there. That is y'all's place that they keep y'all majority of the day. The light is really dim. I think most of all y'all's races have some type of dark vision.
We all have dark
Yeah,
vision.
so it doesn't really affect y'all. You can notice that your pupils stay pretty small or whatnot. They're not, there's no daylight. What little light that you can pull off of, there's some glowing mosses and other types of plant life organisms that have found a way to develop light. There are torches, but the Drow seem to just not like really torch fire, so the place keeps pretty dark. The red line, it's bars, and there's a barred up cage door. You also know that these Drows that have imprisoned you also have quite a number of Quaggoths that work for them too. You've noticed that the Quaggoths are freely able to, and you would know this too, to walk around the facility. They do more of the labor like cooking and tending to things. They're less of this like, let's break these people down and give them Stockholm syndrome type of things.
Us
They're
Drow
cage-
nice to them or mean to them?
They're not really either or.
Okay.
They don't punish them unless they deserve it, whereas the slaves, they find any reason they can to punish y'all.
Okay.
So, y'all are inside this one facility, and you hear some commotion walking up, and there's two Drow carrying another Drow that looks fairly unconscious. The one Drow kind of steps away from the other gun holding the one that's unconscious and kind of pulls his crossbow bolt out and kind of aims it inside the cage bars, kind of letting y'all know that if y'all come near the bars, he's going to shoot into it. The other one, kind of opens up the door while still supporting the weight of the one, and they both kind of toss this one guy into the room. You don't know his name, but this one Drow falls in face first and kind of like,
Just read it.
yeah, kind of moves just a little bit to the side, not motion, really no motion at all. The other Drow, the Drow that opened the door, shuts the door, locks it, and then spits into the cage onto this guy, and the other one gives y'all the middle finger, and they walk back off towards the bridge. Immediately, actually before I get into that, y'all have manacles on that give y'all probably a foot distance as far as able to move around on your hands. And you do have like a collar on, but it's not linked to the manacles. They can link it with a chain, but when you're inside, they usually don't link it. Sometimes they link it if y'all misbehave just to punish y'all. So immediately Ront jumps up and walks over to Eldith. And y'all have known just by, since y'all been here for a long time, that whenever there's a newcomer or any type of commotion inside, Ront utilizes that as a reasoning to bully. And his subject he bullies the most would be Eldith, who is the only dwarf there.
Dwarfs and orcs.
Yeah. So Ront walks over and goes, I really don't like you, little one. And Eldith looks up and is like, Ront, we've been over this so many times. Is there any reason we should do this again? And they're talking in common, so y'all would know that. Immediately, Stool gets really excited and he ejects spores all into the air. And all y'all breathe them in freely.
That's good. Stool.
Yeah, and you start feeling like a tingliness inside your brain, and you feel like you're more aware of everything. The Pt1, the old dark dwarf looking fellow, he's like, fight. Ront comes up to Eldith, he's like, I think I'm going to teach you a lesson again, Eldith. And then Eldith's just like, Ront, we've been over this so many times. You always lose. Why do this again? Yo, fuck him all up. Go, fuck him up.
So in this case, like what you would do is whatever you feel like your character would do.
And you have your alignment. So
You're chaotic good.
you're chaotic good.
So you believe in doing good, even like, but not necessarily. Okay, so like lawful good would be like you believe that like stealing is wrong, killing is bad, this is bad. But chaotic good is more like my personal code of morals tell me what to do. And so if you think like that you defend the weak no matter what, you will do it no matter what. As opposed to like, yeah. But so does he? I mean, he can move his hands and stuff. He's got.
He can. There's motion. I mean, you just can't. It would be really hard to wield something because if you're swinging, they've kept you, physically enabled to really do a lot.
I want to walk over to that body and check and see for any injuries.
This isn't whiskey because whiskey would just rob him of everything he had.
All right, so
I'm actually trying to do something good here.
all right. So you walk up to him. You don't even have to really roll. He looks like he's got a bloody nose and kind of a swollen eye. Looks like he's might have been in some kind of fight. He's kind of mumbling to himself, but you can't really understand what he's saying. He's just not currently there, I guess is the best way to.
And he's a drow.
He is a drow.
I'm gonna kneel down and kind of like take my tail and wipe the blood off of his face.
Okay. He kind of moves a little bit, like blows out his nose, the hair just tickles his nose a little bit. He kind of opens his eyes for a second, looks at you, and he just fades back away.
He's in the middle of the floor right here.
He's close to the door. They tossed him as far as one guy could. Exactly. Yeah, they tossed him as far as one guy could, and they wanted to inflict as much pain, so it was more of just like a slam and shut the door. Never really seen this guy before. A lot of the drow all have like the same haircuts. There's really no way to really tell them apart, other than maybe the ones that really visit you the most. And this doesn't look like one that's really visited you a lot. But he's one of the drow that looks like they've worked here, same type of garb on. You don't see any type of weapons or anything. He's still in leather armor, I guess you could say. But he's totally just not conscious.
Um,
just gonna kind of drag him to the edge of the room and prop him up against the wall and sit down.
Take him out of it. Like you run and Elbith are fighting each other. You're just like.
And like I'm gonna sit down next to him.
Okay, Matt. So you got this were-badger that you've known for a while because y'all got pretty much abducted the same day. They were taking you back. He was digging a hole and fell through the ground on top of y'all. And then they grabbed him, shot some crossbow bolts at him, and took you both the same day. Y'all been here about the same amount of time. So you know this guy. But you also know pretty much how the other
minis. I was going to grab one out that's perfect for him. The werebear.
Yes. So you kind of know how this whole song and dance goes. Ront flexes his muscle. He fights someone to the best of his ability. He either beats somebody up. But Pt1 cheers it on. And it's usually Ildis that is the brunt of his anger.
You can just sit back and do nothing, man.
There's a lot going on. I'm so confused. Like, somebody wants to use the word of radiance to save me. I don't know if I can do that.
You can try it. I mean, all you gotta do is try it.
What do you do?
So you just want to cast.
So just say like, okay, so like what? So the spell. Let me see it real quick. So it's a range of 5 feet. So you got to be right up on them, and then you literally you would just I utter a word, a divine word, and burning radiance erupts from me. Each creature of your choice, so you get to choose who, makes a Constitution saving throw or takes 1d6 radiant damage. And then he will help you find where you're. It's on the second sheet. There's a spell sheet that has his DC. So you could just walk up to him and do it.
Okay.
And then second sheet, it should say on the very top of the page, spell save DC. Underneath the card. 14. So he'd have to roll a Constitution saving throw of 14 or higher, or they take 1d6.
Okay.
So you don't even roll it, unless it happens.
Yeah, I roll it.
Oh.
All right. So do you walk up and do that?
Yeah.
All right. So Ron saw an Elvis face, and you're like leaned up against one of the side walls. You're just like, I can't stand here and watch this happen again. So you get up and walk